Filipinos are not blessed with children. And similarly, many Filipinos that are blessed with too many children do not have the financial capacity to take care of them. Some children are abandoned. They are either left on the streets to fend for themselves or are surrendered to orphanages. These children deserve a good home to go to and a loving family to support them. Based on the DSWD's Adoption Resource and Referral Office, from 2010 to 2012, there were a total of 297 applications for adoption. 243 children were adopted, and presently, 2,400 children were certified as ready for adoption. With thousands of children still in need of good homes, what are the provisions provided by the law in order to legally adopt a child? What are the steps and requirements for a person, couple, or family to adopt a child? How does the DSWD process and handle adoption cases handed to them? Good evening, I'm Attorney Karen Jimeno, and you are watching Legal Help Desk on the Solar News channel. This show is about making the law work for you by giving legal advice on topics that matter to you.
And I am Attorney Nepomuceno. Tonight, we will be discussing your rights on the issue of domestic adoption, especially since the DSWD celebrated last week the Adoption Consciousness Week. We will discuss what you need to know before you decide on adopting a child and what you need to do while in the process of adoption. Tonight, we will be joined by someone who has first-hand knowledge on the subject, and she will explain to us the process of adopting a child here in the Philippines.
Tonight, we are joined by Ms. Herminia Arcangel, Officer in Charge of DSWD NCR's Adoption, Resource and Referral Unit. Thank you for being with us, Ms. Herminia.
Good evening, Ms. Herminia.
Good evening po.
Ayan.
So first, we'll talk about adoption, and it looks like the cases of adoption have been increasing over the years. Is this the trend that you're seeing, na mas marami nag-a-apply for adoption?
That is true, Attorney.
And do you know among these statistics kung alin dito yung talagang mga children that are in the custody of the DSWD or walang homes compared to those na mga anak din sila talaga nung nag-a-adopt? Kasi I think the big misconception about adoption is that it's only for people who want to have children who can't have children. But a lot of people don't know that this is actually the process that you need if you have illegitimate children, for instance, and then may kinakasama ka ng bagong
And you want to,
partner.
You want to legitimize.
Yes, and you want
person,
your kid to be legitimized. Do you know if there's basically an increase as well?
Basically, opo, there's an increase as the years go on because this time the Secretary is bent on
promoting this.
Of course, yes, the law, especially the RA 9523, that since it becomes already an administrative in nature, the declaration of a child as legally available for adoption, that gave us signal to fast track all the cases.
Now, what are the laws, ma'am? What are the basic laws that we are going to be set in motion if you want to adopt? Ano yung mga applicable laws?
Ito po yung RA 8552, Domestic Adoption Law.
Domestic Adoption Law.
Yes, sir.
Then there's...
paano naman yung mga nasa abroad na? Kasi karamihan na nangyayari cases then would be people that are formerly Filipinos who reside abroad and then eventually become American or other citizen, and then they have a relative in the Philippines na gusto nila i-adopt. That's already covered by
inter-country
adoption.
Yes, Attorney.
Yes.
Now, there are two types. We're talking about two types here. No? One, ma'am, is that yung mga abandoned, neglected children. Yung mga nakikita natin sa movies, no? na scene, di ba? Yung I wake up in the middle of the night, someone knocks on the door, and when I open the door, there's an abandoned baby. Yun ang parang first thing that enters your mind about adoption.
This really happens in the Philippines, lalo na yung for instance, we have an actress na iniwanan sa kanya, iniwanan sa kanya yung baby nung kanyang helper dati. In that case, kung mangyari yun to any of our viewers na meron kang naiwanan na bata sa'yo, what process should they take in order to adopt that child?
First, Attorney, is that they have to, of course, they have to surrender that to proper authorities like DSWD. But if the child is already have bonded with the with
Bonded, you mean?
yes,
mga ilang months
How
or
many
years?
years?
Yeah, to say na nag-bond na.
Usually on the age of understanding, which is
6 or
2
7.
years old,
Yeah, mga ganun.
3 years old, nasasabi na niya mama, papa.
Yes.
So in other words, kung if that if I found a child in my doorstep and I took him or her in, all right, and took care of the child like it was my own, and then 6 or 7 years passed, and I didn't report it to DSWD. What's going to happen is that when I go to the DSWD, you're gonna help
Yes, sir.
fast track the adoption
We usually
process.
facilitate it, assist the family in legalizing the.
Hanapin po ba yung biological parents noon? Will there be an effort to look for the
Yes, sir.
There will
Yes.
be an effort on the
Yes,
part
sir.
of the DSWD?
We do that with the RA 9523. It mandates us to do that.
To look for the parents.
Yes,
the real
we
parents.
usually do trimedia, pinapadyaryo, radio, or television, and then we do a lot of assessment. We conduct also parenting capability assessment and everything.
What about those parents naman na kunwari, meron akong anak from a previous relationship, so illegitimate child yun, di ba? And then I already have, I got married to someone else na hindi niya anak yun. If he wants to adopt my child to be his legitimate child as well, para legitimate child namin siya pareho, what is the difference? Anong naiiba sa process for those types of parents, tsaka doon naman sa iba na complete stranger yung adopt nila?
Ang pagkakaiba lang, attorney, the only difference is that you don't need to go through the RA 9523 or the declaration of a child as
Meaning,
legally free
hindi
for
na nila
adoption.
kailangan mag-file ng
Yes, they are
petition
exempted.
declaring the child as
Kasi
available
anak,
for
Yes,
anak
adoption.
nila,
Yes.
they've been taking care of them, di ba?
So what else? Ano pa yung is it gonna be a shorter process for them?
Yes, it is in some way because it no longer passes through the DSWD and it goes directly to the court, the family
So
court.
file na right away, di ba?
Yes,
Kunyari, if I
attorney.
have a legitimate child, I want to legal, and there's a reason why you want to adopt the child is to legalize
to
them,
give her a name,
legit-
to give him a name.
yeah, legitimacy, and therefore in terms of succession, he or she is considered a legitimate child, di ba?
Yes.
So mas mabilis yung process na yan, you're saying.
Yes, sir. It is.
Okay. So first, let's answer a few questions from our viewers. Our first question is from Amanda, and she asks, my husband and I plan on adopting after years of not being blessed with a child of our own. What are the requirements and steps that we need to prepare for in order to adopt? Ayan. Ito yung siguro, if it's a
step by step
stranger.
natin,
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Of course, there's a need to establish your eligibility or your capability. You just need to prove that you are emotionally, physically, financially ready to parent a
By
child.
financially ready, what do you mean? Ano hong tinitignan nyo dito? Kasi marami sinasabi kung hindi naman kami kasing yaman ng mga artista na nag-a-adopt.
Kailangan naman po kaya mong pakainin, kaya mong paaralin.
Hindi naman
all the
kailangan
basic
na
needs of
sobrang
the child.
yaman.
Opo,
Oo.
opo.
No, is there a particular amount of income that you should be earning? Let's say, and is it different from NCR and the different provinces? Kasi iba yung standard of living sa no? Meron ba kayong hinahanap or pinapeg na amount of income?
Sir.
Wala naman. So
Wala,
case
sir.
to case.
Yes, in fact, we are advocating that adoption is not only for the rich.
Yeah,
Alright,
that's
okay.
good. And I just like to add, Amanda, so you really have to file a petition with the family court in order to request, basically apply for adoption. And then, as you said, they look at your financial and even emotional,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Emotional
Emotional,
ability to
psychological.
take care of children. And then I think it's also important to mention na normally pag hindi yung relative yung i-adopt nyo, ang requirement na law is you have to have a 16-year age gap. Right? You have to be at least 18 years of age, and then you have to have a 16-year age gap from the child that you're adopting.
And then I think a social worker will have to evaluate, no?
Yes,
Evaluate
sir.
your case.
They have to apply to the SWD as regular families.
Right. Okay. Now, our next question naman comes from Edelberto. Let's watch this.
Gaano kamahal ang pag-adopt ng bata ngayon?
Gaano kamahal?
Okay, gaano kamahal? That's normally the usual question we get, Karen, in this show. Okay, I think that would depend on a lot of things, but insofar as the DSWD is concerned, how much yung mga fees ng DSWD, social worker evaluation, may fees ba yan?
For DSWD, sir, totally it's free.
Totally
You
free,
will
okay.
only, gagastos ka lang sa abogado.
So,
Saka lawyer's fee,
docket
filing
fees,
fee.
I guess. No?
Yes,
Filing
yes.
fees, yeah. So, I guess it would depend. Meron ba tayong ballpark figure, ma'am? Would it be, meron
Normally
ba
sa
may
experience
lower,
niyo po,
may lower
kung hindi
range ba,
naman
or-
ganun kamahal yung hinahire nilang lawyer, meron ho ba kayo sa experience?
Baka barilin
niyo
ako
on
ng
the
mga
average?
lawyer.
Ano ho
We'll
ba?
protect you. Correct.
Yes.
May mga lawyers po na they go down as 50 to 30,000 actually.
okay. So
Ito
50
yung,
to 30.
kunyari kaibigan mo siya, ito ay bayad pang ano na lang siya, kumbaga
Parang
para
package deal, ganun.
Opo, pero ikaw yung magbabayad ng docket fee.
Yes.
Yung mga ganun. Pero some also are charged as high as 250, 150,
So it
60,
depends.
60,000.
Okay,
Depends on the lawyer.
Depends on the lawyer.
Sa
And then,
experience namin.
one question pala, I guess it's more expensive for those who live abroad, di ba? Kasi
Yeah.
meron kayong, yung tinatawag yung study, yung trial period na 6 months, kailangan nandito, di ba? Yung foreign person who wants to adopt, he or she has to be here in the Philippines.
Kahit po sa local adoption or domestic adoption, we also have that STC or supervised trial custody 6 months after the matching of the child to a family. That is only waived after kung ang mag-asawa ay dati anak nila talaga ito or the child has been with them, kagaya ng sample ni attorney kanina, attorney Rod, that the child has been offered to him on his doorstep. So those are cases that na waive yung STC period. But for cases of intercountry, yes, it is. It depends din po yun.
Okay, another question from Odette via Twitter. Do we need to attend counseling sessions before adopting a child? Why is this necessary? Ang alam ko, yes, Odette, you need to attend what they call pre-adoptive counseling sessions. And they're asking, why is this necessary?
Yes, it is necessary because that is one way of preparing you for to parent a child. To establish that you have really undergone seminars on
Yung
the
responsibility.
responsibility and everything. Yes.
What if the child is already your own child? Kunwari, illegitimate child mo, or anak to nung kinakasama mong bago mong asawa, do you still have to go through this session, pre-adoptive session?
Some do not, but some courts require it.
Now, insofar as pre-adoption counseling sessions are concerned, no, it applies not just to the adoptive parents, but also applies to the child, right? The child who's going to be adopted. Kailangan niya rin participate in the session? The child?
No, sir.
No need na.
Only
Okay.
consent if the child is 10 years old and above.
All right.
Okay.
Now, for the biological parents, though, do they need to? Alam ko may rules on that. Kung biological parents have to go through some kind of seminar or session
yes, sir.
para hindi hurried yung decision nila in
Yes, sir, that's
giving
true.
out, di ba?
That's true.
So dapat they go through that. May
Ito
period
yung
ba?
mga nagpapaampon.
Oh,
They
may-
also have to
oo,
go through.
nagpapaampon.
Adoption forum, yes.
They
Okay.
require that. Okay.
First, let's take a short break. Legal Help Desk will return after these reminders. You are still watching Legal Help Desk on the Solar News Channel. We are still joined by our guest, Ms. Herminia Arcangel. Again, thank you, Ms. Hermi, for joining us tonight.
My pleasure.
All right, let's answer some more questions from our viewers. All right, Joshua asks us via Facebook, my wife has a son from a previous relationship but is carrying her last name. I wish to adopt him. Do I still need the consent of the father even if he was never part of the child's life? Now, as far as I know, with the law, required, no? Required ang consent ng father. No?
If the child is legitimate, meaning married, ang mag-asawa, legally married, yes, there's it is still
Legally
needed.
married, tapos nag-annul
Nag-annul.
na, naghiwalay na, kailangan pa rin ng consent
Yung biological
Yes,
father. Kailangan ba ng
biological
consent ng
father.
biological father?
Kailangan ng consent.
Okay. Pag illegitimate child.
Pag illegitimate po, we usually follow the provisions on
Family code.
family code, yes.
Right,
Says that the sole parental authority is vested on the mother.
Therefore, no need for
So
no.
you don't need the consent,
Consent.
of the father.
Yes.
Of the biological father.
Yes,
Okay, that's good kasi minsan
Yeah.
hirap
Oh,
i-trace
hirap
and this is a
hagilapin.
common problem.
Oo. Oo.
We have a caller on the line. Her name is Elaine. Have you connected? Hi, Elaine.
Hello?
Hi, attorney.
Ano po yung question natin, Elaine?
Yeah, I just want to ask because, I'm going to adopt my brother's son, so he's my nephew. Is it legal for me to ask some sort of responsibility from the parents also? Kasi obviously I'm gonna see them, and then I want to be honest with the kid also that his tito is his dad. Diba? I mean, is it legal for me to demand on paper, once they allow me to adopt, sana kailangan bisitahin pa rin nila, or they, let's say, give some sort of financial support to the child also?
Well, first, under the law, yung nakalagay kasi dito very clear, yung isa sa mga effects ng adoption would be to cut off all legal ties between the adopting parents and the adopted child. So, in terms of requiring financial support, this would be your responsibility as the adopting parent. And I don't think, Ms. Ermi, di ba, na pwede niyang i-require na magbigay ng financial support. Of course, pwede kayong mag-agree legally kung gusto nyo, kung papayag din siya. Pero you cannot force your kapatid niyo po to, no? Yung kapatid mo, hindi mo siya kayang i-force na magbigay ng support kung ayaw niya as a parent, because ikaw na yung magiging legal parent from the time the adoption is approved.
Yeah.
That's
And
true.
Ms. Ermi, if you want to add something, ma'am?
Yeah, that's true. Kasi nakat na po yung ties.
Yung parental authority
Opo,
is
parental
transferred,
authority of the father.
Yes.
So
Although,
anyway,
of course, kung kapatid niya yun, baka naman pumayag siya na magbigay ng continued support dun sa sarili niyang anak.
in that case kasi, you'll have to consider her financial capability to adopt, diba? And in this case, kung medyo hirap siya in supporting the child and needs help to support the child, maybe that's something that can come into play, no? In
Yes, that
evaluating.
is, yes,
No,
attorney.
that will come into play. Okay.
That is
Now,
being in the court.
our next question comes from Maricar, and she asks, what does the DSWD look for when evaluating the eligibility of an adopter? Yan. Ano bang hinaharap natin, Ma'am Ermi?
Ayun nga po, kailangan lang natin ma-establish na siya ay financially and emotionally, psychologically sound. Meaning, she is capable to parent the child. So, she will be assessed by a social worker and required to submit a psychological report, evaluation report on her personality and like that.
Ma'am Ermi, may nabasa rin ako na parang pagka meron kang criminal case, pwede ka ma-disqualify.
Yeah.
Anong klaseng criminal cases yung pwedeng magpa-disqualify from adopting?
Usually po yung mga moral turpitude ng like batterer ka, rapist ka.
Okay.
Ganun.
That's a very, very valid basis, no? Nakakatakot na
I don't
mabibigay
think
ng bata.
that person's not qualified to even
Case ka
drive.
ng murder, mga ganun. No? Moral
Okay.
Murderer,
turpitude.
bawal. Yeah. Okay. All right, our next question comes from Francis, and he asks us via Twitter, how does the DSWD determine if the child and adopter would be good for one another? Ayan. So, kanina yung question is, how do you determine if an adopter is qualified? Now naman, how do you match and how do you fit the adopter and the adoptee? Yeah.
That's a very nice question, actually. We have this we call NCWSG, or National Child Welfare Specialist Group, composed of psychiatrists, psychologists, social worker, who usually is a director of a child caring agency, as a social worker, lawyer, and pediatrician. That committee is composed of those different disciplines to match a child. So the social worker of the child will present the case of the child, the case study of the child, and the social worker of the prospective adoptive parents, or we call it PAPS, present that also to the committee, and then that's it. They match it according to the preference of the adoptive family.
All right. Now, when it comes to just a quick question on the
Yes,
side.
attorney.
The moment there's a rule before na if you're adopted, you can inherit. This is a little bit on succession naman. You can inherit from both your adoptive parents and your biological parents. Is that correct? So you can succeed, di ba? You can be you're a legitimate heir of both your adoptive parents and your biological parents. Is that rule changed? Has that rule changed because of this new, of this relative, this, kasi this domestic adoption law came after the family code, right?
All right,
So-
sir. That's correct, sir, because you cannot, hindi mo naman pwedeng pigilan yung biological mother or parents to still
Include siguro
include
sa
that
will.
sa
But
will,
it's
no?
not compulsory. Kasi
That's
di
not
ba yung
compulsory.
effect nga nakalagay, it severs or basically it cuts off all legal ties from the biological parents to
Yeah. There was no-
the adopted child.
there's no,
so
express
you
repeal of
cannot
that,
you cannot
that benefit.
inherit anymore.
But for the adoptive parent, you are really required.
So our next question comes from Bruce, and he asks via Twitter, what is the process of adopting a child in the Philippines and how long does it usually take? Ito po yung kanina pinag-uusapan natin. No? Dalawang,
Yeah.
para may pagkakaiba siya. If it's
the process.
already your own child, meaning illegitimate child mo siya na gusto mo maging legitimate yung status niya. Kasi for our viewers, you should know na pagka illegitimate yung child mo, pagka po may nangyari sa inyo, if you pass away sa laws natin on succession, kalahati lang nung mana ang makukuha nung illegitimate child compared to the legitimate children. That's why some people, you should consider adopting your own illegitimate child, lalo na kung meron na kayong bagong pamilya. And then also, so the difference would be if you have your own illegitimate child or your illegitimate child to be adopted by your spouse, then you file a petition for adoption. You don't need to get a certificate, no?
from the DSWD.
That the child is available for adoption, but you still have to go pre-adoptive counseling. Pre-adoption counseling. But then if it's a complete stranger, wala kayong anak at gusto yung magkaanak, then Ms. Ermi can give us a rundown kung ano yung process.
Yes, just go to the SWD or any child placing agency like our Norphil or KBF, Kay Samboy Foundation, and attend adoption forum and fill up the application paper.
And then you'll assist
submit
them.
the documents, and
You
then we will assess. Yes.
Yes, and do you assist them all the way up to the
Yeah,
court?
we assist them all the way until it is the adoption decree is.
Because it is the policy of the government to support
Yes.
adoption.
Okay.
Now we have another caller on the line. His name is John. Hi, John. What's your question?
Yeah, Atty, just to make the question short, I have two nieces that I would like to legally adopt. But the problem kasi, I don't have the consent of the parents. Yung parents kasi, parang hindi nila kaya alagaan yung mga bata.
Okay, so
Alright.
Ms. Ermi, this is tricky kasi ang requirement talaga
Is
kunin yung consent ng
consent, no?
parents. But kung pinapabayaan, what do you usually do?
Usually, what he can do is go to DSWD and report the matter to the nearest DSWD that has may jurisdiction kung saan sila nakatira, and then file for, you can also file for custody of the children in court. And then after that, DSWD will assess. We call that PCA or Parenting Capability Assessment. The social worker will establish if the parents are really incapable to support the children, and then that's it. You can file for the
Ang
Custody
ipa-file
of the
po
children.
ni John in this case would be first
Custody.
yung custody, no? To papunta muna siya ng DSWD, I
Yes,
guess, to
yes.
ask for assistance.
And immediate
Yes.
protection.
But then, pag binigay na sa kanya, if they determine na pinapabayaan, then from there, he can also ask for assistance from the DSWD to file the petition for adoption.
Yes, we will assist them.
Okay. But in this case, do they also need a petition for getting that certificate
For
that the
eligibility.
children, yung mga pamangkin niya, are available for adoption?
Yun po, kailangan po yun, meaning kailangan ng, kaya ang sabi ko, custody, mag-file muna siya ng custody kasi hindi mo basta mapapirma yung parent. And kung hindi siya pipirma at makita naman na they are not really capable of parenting the children, we will file for the involuntary commitment of a child to the SWD. So the court will now, is the one responsible in terminating the parental authority of the children. After that, that's the time that he can file for the adoption of the
Okay.
children.
And in the meantime, he can still keep his mga pamangkin.
Yes, yes,
Okay,
that's
good.
it.
I hope we helped you, John. Unfortunately, we are running out of time. Let's use the remaining minutes of the show and give a recap of what we have discussed for the benefit of our viewers. So first, again, misconception, adoption is not only for those who want to have kids and can't have kids. You might need adoption because this is the only legal way to make your illegitimate children legitimate, or in order for your new spouse or partner to make your child from a previous relationship legitimate. And As to the steps, we
Yeah.
have Ms. Hermie
Ms. Hermie,
explaining just
yung
quick rundown.
Quick rundown lang ng mga steps natin.
Yes, just go to the nearest DSWD or the DSWD that has jurisdiction over your place and apply as a adoptive parent, prospective adoptive parents, and we will assist you and assess you on your capability.
And it does require a legal process, and thus it requires you to hire a lawyer. No?
Yes.
Because there will be a court proceeding, and the costs there, as we mentioned earlier, would really depend on the lawyer,
Yes.
the lawyer that you will tap.
Yes,
for
and the time
process.
it will take also varies, but definitely, it might take siguro a year at least,
yeah.
no? Kasi merong 6 months na trial period.
Trial
From the
custody,
time you
yeah.
file the petition for adoption in court, there is a trial period of 6 months, right?
Yes,
Na-
before you file it in court, my 6 months trial cost.
And of course, you have to get the consent of the people who will be affected. No, of course, your spouse, your children, both legitimate and illegitimate, and then of course the biological parents, and also the adoptee himself. No?
Yes.
So you have to get
Yes.
all of that consent. All right, that's all the time we have for tonight. We would like to thank our guest, Ms. Herminia Arcangel, for joining us today. I'm Attorney Rod Nepomuceno.
Join us the whole month of March as we give salute to women all over the world by celebrating Women's Month. We will be tackling topics that concern women everywhere, starting with the sensitive issue of sexual trafficking. So please watch us. And I'm Attorney Karen Jimeno. Good night. Yeah.
All right.